Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast. I'm Young Gruff, and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan Teely.
On episode 183, light news, light trailers this week, but there's a lot to talk about with what we've been watching.
Yes, definitely. Lachlan, I want to hear your extensive thoughts on what you thought of Rebel Moon Part 2, because you did end up sitting through that. Then we also caught up with some of the writing and directing gigs from Alex Garland for a bracket. You can find that video on our channel soonish, or maybe it's already out by the time you see this. Then Lachlan has some 4Ks to show, and my week was filled with less new and more old, which is rare, but I ended up catching the OG Mad Max trilogy, The Nice Guys, and The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Finally, we had to rely on our fallback film this week due to a scheduling thing, but great news is the conflict in The Fall Guy is great enough to do an episode on. So this week, Ewan and I caught David Leitch's latest flick, The Fall Guy, starring Emily Blunt and Ryan motherfucking Gosling. And I'm going to be the fallback guy on the intro and say, roll the intro clip.
We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there.
Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is
me
gonna
a hat
be
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dune Cam. It's just a camera with my Dune Steelbook.
I like that change of pace, man. All right, welcome back, Lachlan. We initially had planned to watch challenges this week and talk about that. I ended up missing the press screening, couldn't make time for it. It's a very busy time at the moment for me at my actual workplace. I was scheduled to go to that screening and I missed it. But we're gonna talk about challenges next week. I'll find time for it. But the reception to challenges has been so positive, and I feel like I'm missing out, which is a rare feeling for me. I gotta adjust to it, you know. It's not really the position I'm usually in, because I get to see stuff first. So, but I like it. It humbles me in a way. There's some trailers, Lachlan. Nothing actually too exciting. Actually, all the free trailers that we're looking at today, Atlas, The Exorcism, and The Watchers, I gotta say, none of them interest me. And the first one, I guess, with Jennifer Lopez here, Atlas, I really couldn't care less about this one. Because I feel like this, I don't know, I get nothing out of a Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence, great. Jennifer Lopez, not so much, I'd say. But Lachlan, what did you think of this latest Netflix action flick?
Not a heck of a lot of good came out of it for me. The reason it popped on my radar is there was an IGN article that I saw about it being very, very loosely teased to be inspired by Titanfall, the series Titanfall in the video game space. And as Titanfall 2 is one of the best narratives in a video game that I've played, I got excited. Then I watched the trailer and I had that immediately curb stomped to death because it looked meh.
Yeah.
So yep, I guess we'll see what this turns out to be. It's on Netflix, so eventually it'll be in my feed of never-ending films on a streaming service that I'll never watch, but maybe I will, depending on how it's received.
I mean, it's going to be the most successful movie on Netflix ever, because did you remember Mom, or what was it, The Mother, or something like the last movie that she was in for Netflix did incredibly well, considering that it wasn't that spectacular. The Mother is what it was called. Apparently, that movie is I think in the top 10, maybe even higher than that of Netflix all time, since they've been tracking that for their original stuff. So I guess she does the numbers. I don't think the quality is there, and in her acting and even just behind the camera, I don't see this be interesting in any way. So I'm gonna quit being a hater and move on to The Exorcism, which stars Russell Crowe in another Exorcist movie that isn't, well, not The Exorcist, but just an Exorcist movie where they do an exorcism. He's not the Pope's exorcist in this one. Like you said, he's from Boston this time around, maybe. He's American.
Yeah,
got that rage in him.
He's an American Catholic this time.
Yeah, and he cusses out the Red Sox each time he has a chance to. And the Bruins should have won more hockey, which that's my tie over to talk about hockey real quick, which playoffs are happening, really exciting. That's why I'm so tired, because the games happen at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. my time, and sometimes I just can't not watch it live. So I've been really tired. recently. But Russell Crowe, they're also doing a sequel to that Pope's Exorcist movie. This is a different thing. I don't really know why he's doing another one of these. It seems like, hey,
this is a backstory. This is the
he's
backstory
found
of him,
something
how he
for
got into character. So it's actually a documentary of how Russell Crowe got into the character for the Pope's Exorcist.
Well, then the original backstory, the behind the scenes of this one should then, I guess, be set. Isn't he like Kiwi or yeah? He's from New Zealand, right?
Technically, he's from New Zealand, but he's basically Australian, but he's technically from New Zealand.
Possessed entities that have claimed Down Under as his home.
Yeah, just like
yeah,
any great New
know.
Zealand invention, it's stolen by the Australians. But yeah,
But The Exorcism, that movie, really generic title. I didn't really see anything too interesting about this one, other than there's someone who's possessed, and that's where the exorcism comes in.
And they're on a
It's just
movie
like,
set.
I don't know.
And they're on a movie set.
Yeah, which I guess is maybe the most unique thing about it, but it didn't really intrigue me that much, to be honest. And then lastly, The Watchers. Yeah. From the creative mind of M. Night Shyamalan's sperm offspring. No, his daughter is making her, I think, feature debut, and he's producing the film, and it definitely, like, I was surprised when I first clicked on this when you said, hey, it's by his daughter, that Warner Bros. Is behind it, because it definitely doesn't give off the vibe of something that could be carried under Warner Bros. But because she comes with the nepo benefit of having a filmmaker dad, I guess it's where she has like the star power with Dakota Fanning in it straight away. To be honest, this doesn't look too intriguing to me as well, just because if it's a derivative of the minds of the Shyamalans, then I feel like I don't know, if it eclipses M. Night, it's cool. Probably still not a great film, because I really don't really like his stuff, although Trapped looks great for this year, at least the initial trailer. But yeah, Lachlan, did the Watchers pique your interest? Are you gonna take a glimpse?
I guess I'll take a glimpse. Depends how long I stay. I don't know. That's the real question. Yeah. I might take a glimpse, but I might not stay for the entire runtime. That's the only thing I'll say is I'm not holding out too much faith. But look, M. Night's early career, pretty damn good. Maybe this will be a same spirit, right? Early stuff, really good. Later on, we'll see.
The biggest concern I had with the trailer was just that the dialogue immediately came off like it was taken from another M. Night movie, with some of the exposition and some of the line delivery was like already off in the trailer. It's like, oh, I don't know. And then the plot, we'll see, but hey, it's gonna have some interesting imagery at least. But yeah, that's it for the trailers this week. Hopefully we have a bit more to talk about in the coming weeks, but we kind of know what the schedule is for at least the next couple of weeks. It's the Fall Guy, it's challenges, it's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. No, not Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, sorry. Planet of the Apes, A New Kingdom, or what is it called? There's a couple of news items that you jotted down, Lachlan. First up, the remastered 4K version of A Lord of the Rings is heading to theaters in June. Is that like something that you'd end up watching? He's grabbing his box set of the films right now, but yeah, would you? You already got the 4K Ultra, but I guess they're doing a remaster. Is this like this already looks great, right? I assume
I will go and see this in cinemas. I will.
Yeah, it's already like here as well. I think this is not connected because I think they happen sooner than June, but I might be mistaken. But there's a couple of screenings that they are doing that are the whole marathon of all three of the films. But yeah, I've only seen I think the Lord of the Rings trilogy twice. And I think to me it's like technically super impressive. The story is great, but it has never really intrigued me to go back into this world. Like I didn't have that much of an interest in revisiting it. But yeah, Lachlan, is that something like that you put on again and again, or has it been a while?
It has been a while. I purchased that to watch it, but I had other films come up that I decided to watch instead. So I've got to wait for it to be a quiet week, which with the lineup that we've got ahead of us for the next month or so, it's not going to be soonish, but hopefully by, June, everything will be ready for me. But that's
You got
summer,
some time,
isn't it?
yeah.
So then we'll have summer blockbusters. Oh fuck! I'm never gonna be able to see this.
Well, tell me about the castings for 28 years later.
So we have got some news around 28 years later, which is an interesting week to have it come out because we have obviously done a lot of watching of Alex Garland and some Danny Boyle films because we are doing an Alex Garland bracket. And we got some news that Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and Ralph Fiennes have all been signed on essentially to do the sequel to 28 Days Later.
Yeah, we're both people who have seen 28 Days Later not less than a day ago for the first time, right?
Yeah.
So we're not really entrenched in this universe. From what I saw is that in the casting list for 28 Weeks Later, it's different because it's Americans coming to the island. To the island is a funny thing to say, but that's how it's written in the synopsis. But it's just England or Great Britain. And this one is taking another set of characters on, although there is an ending to the first one that I don't want to spoil for 28 Days. But yeah, they can kind of have a clean slate of just revisiting this world at a later time. Do you think this is going to be more on the grotesque horror side with not really that many kills, focusing on the humans? Or do you think there's going to be like a ton of action chase scenes in this? Like, what do you expect from this film?
It's difficult to know because Garland, he does have a weird relationship with how he writes his films. He does often end with them changing genre, and we have seen him switch to different genres, but I'd be interested to see more so the world that he builds more than anything else, because I think that's the most interesting aspects to his films. He might write some really interesting world about how the world has changed being 28 years later of this particular rage outbreak. So it will be exciting. I think that first and foremost, we obviously talk about, oh god, his name just was in my head, Hitman,
Richard Linklater or Glenn Powell?
Glenn Powell will be one of the next big upcoming superstars. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, same ballpark. Keep this guy's career on your radar because one, obviously Bullet Train, massive successful, Kraven the Hunter. We've obviously got a rumored James Bond casting as well for him, and to see him in something like this as well, it's going to be a really interesting career. I hope he doesn't end up having to do James Bond films for the next 10 years and then he loses out on this really interesting era.
I think wasn't Jodie Comer also like once mentioned for like a female James Bond type of thing? I think
like every actor has always been listed as the potential next James Bond.
Well, Ralph Fiennes was in the movies, right? Already in the ones with Daniel Craig. So this is just it's under the guise of 28 Days Later. They're just doing a James Bond film. We figured it out, and it's actually a tease that we get the next James Bond film in 28 years from No Time to Die.
Done.
I figured it out, man. It's like listening to Taylor Swift. You just gotta it's a puzzle.
You don't do it. Oh right, sorry.
You don't do it. Yeah, I haven't listened to that latest album drop, but I've seen some lines and it's pretty funny. But yeah, we're nice guys, the nice guys. I watched this one this week, and then Lachlan, you find news about it, which is kind of funny. Apparently, like in an interview with Gosling, something came out about like a sequel potential for that film.
Yeah, they were talking about the sequel to the Nice Guys and how it didn't come about, and much along the lines, Gosling was basically like, yeah, I think it's because of how it opened in the box office, and he said that Angry Birds just killed the film and it was more successful, so it just came out at a bad timing. And it was funny because as I left the cinema for The Fall Guy, I honestly thought this could take the same path of, if this was released in a week where another film was coming out, there's a possibility that this one slips under the radar. Probably not from the size of the advertisement. I don't think the Nice Guys had a massive advertisement budget or wasn't as big and extensive as what the Fall Guys one was. And after all, the Fall Guys advertisement has been trailers, it has been stunt-filled like PR things, and also they had a whole segment to the Oscars themselves where it's just Blunt and Gosling chatting about stunt work and stunt coordinators. So they have had a massive run at advertising the Fall Guys in comparison to this, but I think it's kind of true that when you release a film that's, The Angry Birds, it's a very popular IP versus an IP with Gosling, who at the time doesn't have the same superstar rate as he does right now, you probably aren't going to have a very successful film.
Well, it's also a very different type of role, and the movie itself is like it's jokey. There's a lot of jokes, but there's still something darker about it compared to
Shane Black.
Shane Black.
That's him. That's his entire MO.
Yeah. It's my last name. It's got to be. But like the Fall Guy is so much more lighthearted that like it toes the line towards almost leaning into it as much as like Argyle does, but it works way better. Like Argyle was a horrible film. Fall Guy isn't. I can already tell you that before we get into our spoiler review. And The Nice Guy, I think, is like mixing its tones quite often with the characters. Like I think overall it kind of works, but there's one too many jabs for me to say like it's a great film. I think it's just kind of a decent film. And yeah, Angry Birds shouldn't be like that big I guess a rival to that film, because I assume it's gonna attract a different audience. But I guess they were the little piggies that got shredded by the Angry Birds. And lastly we got some sequel announcement. Lachlan, what's this about?
So you haven't seen this film, but I have. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. It has received a announcement that there will be a sequel coming to it, and the original cast is joining along. In the debates on Reddit, because that's where I saw the article, people are in a bit of a mixed mind of whether this is a great idea, whether this isn't a great idea. It's obviously that whole conversation of, they're finding IPs to recycle and come up with sequels, etc., etc. But for me, I hold Priscilla, Queen of the Desert as a really good film, and I think it is perfect as it is. I didn't think I really necessarily needed a sequel to it, but I'd be interested to see what they do. And I don't know who's on for directing and writing, but if we get the team back and we get the same characters, there's possibility that they've got an idea for a story that they want to tell. And yeah, it's probably a good time to tell it.
Yeah, again, we screened this last month at our theater as like a part of a retirement package for someone who went into retirement, and he requested this film to be screened for him, I guess personally, and we did that gladly. But I didn't end up watching the film myself, and I haven't had time to, I guess. But I hear great things about it, so maybe finally I'll have to make some time for it. But hey, it's gotta take at least 2 months until I get to it, because currently I'm in my preparation phase for Gun, which I haven't really gotten to much yet to watch some films there, and then I'll be there. So a busy couple of weeks ahead of me at least. And it does look interesting though. I just, like, on a first glance, I'm like, ooh, does this play the way that they do it? Because I have no idea of how they tackle like these characters when this was made like 20 years ago or something. Or was it older than that?
1994.
Yeah, if it still like holds up in that way under the scrutiny of 2024, or if that's like not a concern at all. I have no idea. So I'd have to
not a concern at all.
All right, that's great then. I like that.
It is done in a way that is almost perfect.
Respectful?
And it's 100%. And it's a fantastic film. And I hold it. I recently also came across an article of some guy buying a property, and the bus that was in this film was just on that property, and it was like, oh wow, there it is. So,
and he got it?
Fuck, I hope they buy that bus off of him. That'd be wicked to have the original bus back. But I don't know, that might tell a different story. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to be set in the future in Boston. Because that's where all great stories that happen.
Exactly.
But no, that's it for the news. Again, like we said, there's not that much that we have that much like really exciting stuff. But you can leave us a rating on Spotify and Apple Podcast in the meantime, and check out the links below for Amazon to help support us by buying some films. If you were to purchase that 4K remastered Lord of the Rings trilogy later on, after, I guess it's not available right now, because it's going to be in theaters in June 1st before it comes out, or 28 days later, or whatever you purchase. If you use our link there, then you support us indirectly. Yeah, also subscribe on YouTube if you're watching there. Hello, you can see smiling faces. Lachlan, smile for the camera, please. Yes, we need this. Hi. Well, he's so happy. And this happy boy is going to tell you what he's been watching this week right now.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to tell everybody what I've been watching. So let's get started with the TV shows. Let's get them out of the way, okay?
Okay.
I've watched the first 2 episodes of The Sympathizer, and I can say it's pretty good, and I'm enjoying it. That first episode is extremely just well-timed, well-paced. Everything down to the T is like perfect. The second episode, I can see obviously a little bit less of that, but I can see that if the entire first season was what the first episode was, it would get too tiring. So we'll see where this story goes. I'm a little bit annoyed that it's episodic and it comes out each week and I gotta wait, but hey, whatever. Other than that, I've been watching a sitcom called Ghosts, the British version though.
Okay. That's
just a short one. It's just something to pass the time. I'm like up to the second season, like episode 4 or whatever, so I'm around there, so that's just something I've been watching. Movies. So, we're doing a Garland bracket. We had to obviously include some of his writing credits, not just his directing stuff, because it would have been very short, because there's 5 things if we include devs in it, so I had to watch the stuff I hadn't seen. Out of all the stuff I hadn't seen, it was 3 things, and that's Never Let Me Go, 28 Days Later, and Sunshine. So, with those 3 there, I must say, I had the most fun on Sunshine, just because it's just a crazy film, and I just loved the premise of it. 28 Days Later, it's a classic. My review literally says I don't want a 4K copy of it. I would rather just the original VHS, because there's something about the really low quality recording resolution that it was shot on at the time just adds that extra sort of character to the film, which I would love. And I really hope, now that I think of it, if the new one also isn't shot on like this beautiful Sony FX Venice whatever, like I hope they shoot it on like a fucking like a potato if they can. I'm trying to look for like a shit camera on my desk, but I don't. I've only got like a Panasonic, which is actually a pretty good camera. So I hope they actually put some time into picking a camera, because I feel like the look of it is going to be super important. And Never Let Me Go, which was, out of all of Garland's work, probably the most different, I guess I could say. It is the most different in terms of it is science fiction in a way, but it's not to the extremities that his other films have been. It's more of a romance than it is sci-fi, but it still has some sci-fi themes, which is really interesting. Have you read my review, by the way, on Letterboxd for that one?
For Never Let Me Go, I haven't seen it, no.
Okay, no worries. I'll let you read it later on. Let's get to the money shot, though. Rebel Moon, Part 2, Scargiver. And we're moving on, because I don't want to give any of that movie any more time of day. Holy fucking shit.
Come on.
What a complete waste of time. What a complete waste of time. I watched the whole thing over 3 days because I had to keep putting my phone and TV, turning it off. I literally tried so many times just to sit down and watch it. There was so many things that were pissing me off. The biggest one is dialogue. Holy shit. Was it just like written, fed through ChatGTP, spat out, thrown through Bing ChatGTP, spewed out, given to Siri to dictate the entire fucking thing, and then let Google translate it into like Spanish and then translate it back to English, and then they go, here's the script. It was just so terrible, from what characters were saying to other characters. It was way too just up their own assholes. I have to admit, it looks pretty, sure, but that is the only thing. The only thing is that I could look at it and go, wow, it's really cinematic. But everything else about it wanted me to vomit. I finished watching it whilst I was on the toilet. I had like 5 to 10 minutes to go, and I just sat there on the toilet doing my business and watching Rebel Moon because I had to finish it, and it was just a nightmare. And I'm so mad that I think I considered it like one of my most anticipated movies of the year.
Yeah, why?
Because who knew it was going to be such a dumpster fire? But who knows? Maybe we got to wait for the Schneider cut, as we always do.
Sure.
But I'm so
No, you
done
finishing it on the toilet is kind of perfect. You know, it's Rebel Moon
man.
Part 2, the Scargiver.
I'm so sick of Zack Snyder presenting me shit. And now I wonder, after seeing this, do I go, was it really DC? Were they really the bad guy? Like, did they really have, like, did they get rid of him because they saw what was going to happen? And then I'm thinking, okay, DC's not the bad guy. But then I'm thinking, different timeline, DC is the bad guy because in this timeline, DC fired him and he gave us Rebel Moon. So, I don't know who the bad
Disney
guy
as
is
well
in this
didn't wanna
universe.
Yeah. Like, is it like, imagine Disney had given him the actual Star Wars IP. I
Well,
think,
he couldn't
look, to be
have fucked
fair,
it harder
I
than
thi-
anything else.
No, I think it would have worked better because he's so set on creating his own mythology for all of the characters that he stops the movie like 17 times just to tell us
The
and to
problem
show
is
us, but also mainly tell us.
He Justice Leagued it. He fucking Justice Leagued it. They're like, all these characters who I do not give a flying fuck about, right? There's just too many of them. There's too many of them and I don't care. And the little lore they're setting up is pointless. At least in like, if we consider like the original Star Wars movies, like there is a lore that they set up, but they massively expand the lore in every other Star Wars comic book and expansive universe thing. And that's where we got the lore, where he's thinking, I need to throw as much of it into this film as I possibly can. And all the characters were boring. I don't find any of them interesting. I don't find any of the deaths, or I don't even bother about spoiling it because the whole fucking thing's a spoiler. But like, there is no point anyone at all to watch this movie. There is no point. Just watch part 1 and consider that it, because I actually thought part 1, I kind of want to bump part 1 up because I didn't think part 1 was as much as a dumpster fire as what part 2 was. And how dumb of a name is Scargiver? And why not just make this one movie? And
She's the Scargiver.
I am like Roy. I swear I didn't want to get into it because now I'm mad. Now I'm upset. Now I don't want to do the rest of the podcast.
Well, do you want to calm yourself down with showing off some 4Ks?
No, I don't, Ewan, because I'm mad about Rebel Moon.
Well, do you want to calm down and like maybe do it after I'm done with my stuff, or because I'd love to see those 4Ks and I assume the audience would love to see it as well. But Rebel Moon is
now,
just,
you want to see him later? Because I'm happy to show you and cool down a little bit.
Sure, it's got you emotionally, I guess.
Yeah,
this film.
It did.
Yeah.
I never want to watch a fucking
understandable
Zack Snyder movie ever again.
How about we do a bracket?
I fucking hate you. Don't you dare. Don't you fucking do it. Oh my god, if I rock up to the podcast next week and you're like, hey, so we're gonna do a bracket for Zack Snyder, I swear I'm gonna be fucking mad.
No, but show me some 4Ks. Right. I'd love to see them. I don't know what they are as well. Lachlan didn't tell me yet.
Cool. I'm gonna rip the price stickers off of them because God, it's embarrassing.
You stole them.
I didn't steal them. I got the receipt. I can show you the receipt. I got 4 films, 4 4Ks. I pre-ordered 3 of them, and then I decided to get the other one because it's basically 3 of them released as a Steelbook set. And I was like, ooh, here we go. So the first movie I got, I've already seen it. It's the only one I have seen out of all of these movies, which is why it's exciting for me to watch all of these movies in 4K. First one is technically the second Martin Scorsese movie that I've seen. Technically my favorite from him for the longest time. Could still be considered my favorite. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't seen it in a few years, but it's The Departed. The Departed.
In 4K. And we're back to Boston. Departed.
I cannot wait to rewatch this in the glorious 4K resolution that it comes in. I am very excited to just dive back into this world. I remember I got told to watch this movie. The person I was with fell asleep and decided to leave me, and I didn't stop watching this movie until it was like 1 a.m. It's spectacular.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right.
It's been way too long for me to revisit that one. I'd love to give that a rewatch as well.
All right, cool. Ready for this?
Yes.
I got 3 movies here. 3 Steelbooks, and I'll show you one at a time. I'll show you in the order of least excited to most excited, because the first one I wasn't actually going to get, and then when I saw the Steelbook, I was like, I kind of have to get it. Also, I'm going to adjust this here. Okay, we're back in business. All right. The Guns of Navarro. This is from 1961. I haven't seen it. In fact, I only heard of it when I saw the Steelbook, so that's embarrassing. As I call myself a film connoisseur, but there's obviously over 100 years of cinema, and you can't know every single one. So this is apparently just a really good war movie, and it's got some big actors in it. David Niven, Gregory Peck, Anthony Quinn, people that I do know, but I just have never seen this particular film. And I will be excited because it is in the glorious high dynamic range HDR 4K Blu-ray. I'll be very excited to watch this. All right, number 2, Ewan. You ready for this? Oh,
yes.
What?
Yeah. No, I actually didn't know this movie either. So,
okay.
But I do know David Niven.
Do you want me to give you a? Do you want to try to guess what the next one is?
Why? You went from The Departed to a movie from 1961. I have no fucking clue what you're going to
Well, this one's from 57, and it's the winner of 7 Academy Awards.
12 Angry Men? No.
Directed by David Lean.
No, not The Searchers. That's earlier than that. Fuck. You're testing my film knowledge, and it's lacking.
Alec Guinness is in
David Lean. It's not Lawrence of Arabia, right?
No.
Did he direct that? He directed that, right? David Lean.
No, he did direct that. Yeah. 57.
57.
Three.
The Bridge of River Kwai.
1, correct. It is the Bridge of
yes.
River
Oh my
Kwai.
god, that's such a pretty steelbook.
It is such a pretty steelbook.
That is so pretty.
Have seen clips. I have actually studied clips from this film, but I actually have never seen the movie in its entirety. So I'm very excited to watch all 161 minutes of this film and enjoy it in its, once again, 4K HDR quality format in this beautiful steelbook that I cannot wait to open and get all my greasy fingers on. All right, Ewan, last one.
So greasy.
62, winner of 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Insert name of title here stands as one of the most timeless and essential movie motion picture masterpieces.
I don't know. I actually have no clue what won the Oscar in 62.
All right, I'll give you one last hint. Directed by David Lean.
David Lean again. Is it... Wait. I didn't say it before, right? It's not Lawrence of... No, it is Lawrence of Arabia.
It's Lawrence of Arabia again. There it is. I actually think this steelbook is better than this one, in my opinion. I actually think this is actually a really cool design.
Yeah.
I also have not seen Lawrence of Arabia. I have been wanting to see this movie, but there's one thing that set me back. Ewan, what's my favorite kind of movie?
A short film.
Short film.
You know, it's long.
This is 226 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not the longest movie I would have seen, but it's a long movie, so...
It's a very long movie, yeah.
Anyway, that's the last of the steelbooks that I got. There's the 3. How pretty.
It's in theme, because this week I struggled to find like copies of films that we are showing at the cinema, and I did the programming for it and trying to get the rights, and like stuff like I don't have it here anymore because it's already and my copy is already in the cinema, but like Lost in Translation, there's no way of me getting a Blu-ray copy of that here. It's like just not available. It's so weird. Not even Blu-ray. Magnolia as well. Nothing here. And it's just been a bit frustrating that how much physical media is dying, especially the ones that have like German subtitles here, which I wouldn't really care about, but for when we show it at a theater, when we got to do our own copy of it, then we do need that. So it's like, I don't know, it's just been a really frustrating week of realizing how dead a physical media is and how unavailable it becomes. You know, you just can't find it anymore. Like not even on streaming anywhere or like any other copy. It's really.
Do you want me to make you feel better?
Older films, it's great. Yeah.
Do you want to guess how much I paid for this?
Scargiver.
How much I paid for this one?
Well, I assume it's probably like pretty expensive. Also, it's Australian bucks, so did not real. So I'd say like $35.
This was $65. Do you want to guess how much this one was?
Wow. 45?
$65. Do you want to guess how much Lawrence of Arabia was?
Well, it came out in 62, so I'm gonna go with $62.
$80. So don't feel bad about not getting the medium. Guess how much this was? The Departed 4K.
$3.
$27. But I mean, yeah, look, don't feel bad about not finding the movies because Yeah, that's fucking expensive.
Well, I did find a copy of Magnolia, but they wanted to have $160 for it. I was like, nope, it's unfortunately outside of our budget for it.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
the movie itself. But yeah. All right, I watched some stuff as well.
Tell me about your stuff.
Yes, Shogun finished this week. I watched it a while back because I was lucky enough to get the screeners ahead of time, and I haven't been revisiting it weekly. I can't wait for you to ultimately binge this one as well, because I assume once you are in it, you are gonna be done with it in like 2 weeks' time. Because it is that great. I think it's the best show of 2024 so far. The praises that it's gotten, that it's our new Game of Thrones series is warranted, although it is a limited series. It's a mini series. It's not gonna continue in a second season, but the quality is there, and I'm just the storytelling is great, especially the character stuff is fun, and then the production design, the costumes are incredible. So Shogun, if it hasn't been on your radar yet, then go stream that. I think it's very much worth your time. And then Mad Max, Lachlan, I don't know, have you seen the original trilogy, or just like 2 and 3? Because I hear that those are way more popular than 1. Have you seen all of them?
I've seen all of them.
Well, like, I wasn't aware that the first one is so much like not this universe, but basically just out back. There's a street gang of I guess bike riders.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But it's basically I guess the big break for George Miller, because it was made on not too big a budget, and then it grossed a lot of money for its time. Apparently, it almost made him quit filmmaking, because it was like it was so hard to get this done. And I forget who it was, but someone else said, "Oh yeah, that's just what filmmaking it is." And then George Miller was like, "Oh yeah, well then I got it. I can do it again." And I gotta say, the second one, to me, I know this might be controversial to say, it rivals Fury Road. The second one is so good. I wouldn't say the first 2/3 are like impeccable great, but the action in the end, when they just when they do all of this stuff for real, and like Fury Road looks incredible. But you can tell when there's heightened stakes with cinematic effects that look incredible. They are really great. But there's something about them doing it for real in the second one that is so incredibly fun to watch. That's a highlight. If you haven't seen it yet, I think it's a great one to check out. And then I didn't like the third one. I think the third one is even worse than the first one. I know it's like it's like got some nostalgic I don't know, stuff for some people, but that's just it is like the Return of the Jedi type of stuff, when the Ewoks way of having the kids there, basically them becoming like an integral part of the story, which I just didn't anticipate. But I like how this is almost feels like an anthology of a Mad Max character that basically is this like stranger that enters a place and there's a conflict, and he solves it or is involved in it, and then he just moves on. I mean, even Fury Road ended up working out that way with the ending there, and has me really keen for Furiosa. I am a bit concerned that like filmmaking is this hard thing, and Fury Road was so hard to get done that as George Miller gets older, it just isn't feasible anymore that he does this crazy stuff. It as crazy as Fury Road was, or especially the second Mad Max film. So I'm still very keen to watch it. But when was the last time that you saw the Mad Max films?
Wow, last time I probably saw it was maybe 2018, 2017. Last time I watched them all. So
yeah,
it has been it's been a while.
Yeah, but they're still I think a ton of fun. They do hold up, especially the second one. We talked about The Nice Guys earlier as in news, because Ryan Gosling mentioned it was squished by Angry Birds for a sequel potential. Yeah, not as egregiously as they set it up in The Man from U.N.C.L.E, which by the way is the other film I watched. I couldn't get to, because it's not screening anywhere, and I couldn't get anyone to sent me a screener for it for the Ungentlemanly Warfare. Guy Ritchie is just trying to make the most unmarketable name possible for his stuff. Like, he has The Gentleman, then he also makes a series that's also called The Gentleman, but now it's streaming on Netflix. Then he, like, Wrath of Man, I guess was a bit easier to say, but The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and the way that he spells it, and then like the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, or Operation Fortune Rousse de Guerre. It's like, who the fuck speaks French, man? Who are you catering these movies to? I didn't really like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I think it was very cheesy. I didn't really like the action, and I was quite bored for it, but I did have to get my fix of I guess Guy Ritchie. But like, do you like The Man from U.N.C.L.E?
I did enjoy The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I didn't hate it, and I haven't seen it in a while, so when I watched it, I didn't mind it. But I was on a Guy Ritchie binge because it was like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and King Arthur, which were his two like hated ones when they came out. But I was sort of on the other side, being, hey, it's pretty good. I don't mind it.
I don't mind it, yeah. But yeah, I thought it had some solid action in between, but then I don't know. He works well when he can just do crazy action with characters that are like shallower than a puddle, and it's just about that. But whenever there's like actual conflict that he has to navigate, and you at like the end of I guess occupation and Western forces clashing with communism and capitalism as ideologies, and then you have like one on American, one on the Russian side, and he wants to build to something where the two characters interact with each other. It just doesn't really work for me. It wasn't really that funny. But like Shane Black, I ended up watching The Nice Guys, which I think is something a film that is often praised quite a bit by like that it, like you said, didn't have the box office return, so it was not really appreciated for how good it was. It also has a young Angourie Rice in it, who now has become way more famous with the Spider-Man films. I think it's fine. The action is intriguing, and the like two buddies kind of hating each other but needing to work with each other works well because Ryan Gosling is funny. I think this is one of the roles where Gosling does have the quality to bring this up to another level, but I don't think like the settings are giving him enough for the characters to flourish, and he feels like he's all over the place. I thought it was just kind of decent. It was a nice time, but yeah, not something that I'd like go out recommend to everyone. I think it's fine if you didn't end up catching this one. But as like a huge Ryan Gosling fan, Lachlan, is Nice Guys up there as one of his best films, or where do you see it?
Wouldn't say it's one of his best films, but I think it's one of the most underrated one of his films.
Yeah, for sure. Lachlan, let's get to our review of that latest film from David Leitch.
Fresh off an almost career-ending accident, stuntman Colt Sheevers has to track down a missing movie star, solve a conspiracy theory, and try to win back the love of his life while still doing his day job.
Yeah, The Fall Guy comes from the action director David Leitch, who is well known for, I guess, his work as just his stunt work extensively. He's worked on a ton of films. Like, if you look at his credits, it's actually like crazy. He worked on the Ocean's 11 films. He's worked on X-Men films, on 300, just as a stunt guy, and he's now transitioned into a producer but also a director role, and has done the second Deadpool film. He did the Hobbs and Shaw Fast and Furious film, Atomic Blonde, and is not doing the third Deadpool film. I guess they're just like switching directors each film there. But he also had Bullet Train last year, which I actually didn't mind. I think it was just a solid piece of dumb action fun. And I think The Fall Guy kind of picks up from where Bullet Train left off. Plus, it has the very much nice added mix of Ryan Gosling that gets added here. And, Lachlan, a movie about kind of the behind the scenes of filmmaking is usually also something that we enjoy when it's done well. So far, the film isn't really out yet, but at least in the States, internationally, it did have its release a bit earlier. I think in Australia, that's why we actually end up getting to cover it a bit early. We're going to talk about spoilers a bit, but I think most of our review is going to be pretty non-specific about like what happens, because it ultimately is an action film. I wouldn't be too concerned about like the big plot twists. We'll give spoiler warnings when we specifically talk about them. But so far it's been received pretty positively. 3.6 on Letterboxd, 7.4 on IMDb, and a 78 on Metacritic, which is actually like pretty high for a movie like this. And it comes from Universal, that has put a lot of its money into the promotion of this film. It's been left and right at the Oscars, everywhere. Lachlan, did that pay off? Was it worth all of that investment to get as many eyes on it as possible? You think this is going to be a hit?
Well, I left the cinema grinning. I left the cinema having a great time, and I think that a lot of people are going to have a great time with this film because it is a lot of fun. And I think that out of all of Leitch's films, this one unfortunately is the weakest in terms of narrative itself. I feel like it doesn't really have much to chew on, but recently we have had a series of directors create movies about making movies, and I love this genre of film, movies about making movies. We've had obviously Babylon from Damien Chazelle, we've had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino. We could consider The Fabelmans from Spielberg, all films about making films, but these three are film lovers. How about we get a movie about the side of film that is invisible? And that is the best part about the stuntman career, is that honestly, most people who see a movie won't see that. And if we're honest, unfortunately, sometimes a lot of this stunt work gets replaced by VFX, and the film does say a lot about the industry in terms of replacing stunts with VFX, replacing stunt doubles with VFX, putting one face on another, scanning the stunt double, even talking about how there's no stunt work Oscar category at the Oscars. The film does say a lot, and for a film to be directed by someone who obviously started off in the stunt field, obviously as a director, he's got 9 credits plus 2 upcoming, producer 14 plus 8 coming, but 82 credits in stunts. Going all the way back to 1998, he has credits for stunts working on the movie Blade. He's the stunt double for Brad Pitt in Fight Club, and he doubles Brad Pitt throughout his career in the early 2000s into the late 2000s as well in some cases. He then ends up working on stunt coordination for certain films like assistant stunt coordinator V for Vendetta. He's a stunt double in Speed Racer, which is a terrible film at the time, but now cult classic. Action coordinator on X-Men Wolverine, going into the places of stunt coordinator for Tron Legacy, Conan Barbarian, In Time, the stunt coordinator for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and now he's becoming a director of action-based films, and a lot of them have been fun, a lot of them have been wacky, but none of them have really embraced what he is, and that's a stuntman. And I think The Fall Guy is not his strongest from a writing standpoint, but I end up thinking it's maybe one of his best.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that his like films are perfect. They're far from it. I think that like Hobbs and Shaw was pretty horrible, and like Deadpool as well. You work with a lot of effects. Atomic Blonde, I haven't seen it, but the action clips from the stunts that I've seen look pretty impressive. And then Bullet Train
One of which
is
was
like
at
a
the
mix
opening of
of
this film.
Which one was that?
Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde. Oh, was it one of the things that got
It's
shown?
one of the montages
yeah.
at the start, yeah.
Which is nice if you hold the rights to that stuff, and or you can try. Also, there's like getting off track real quick, but I think if I remember correctly, there's a lot of like really big needle drops in this film.
Yeah.
I didn't write anything down when I saw it like 2 weeks ago. So my memory is becoming fuzzy.
Yeah.
Been hit too many times in head. But Bullet Train, I think, is like one that has like close space fights, and then it goes over the top in places. I think here you have the benefit of not going too over the top all the time, and when it does, it's all under the premises of it's set in that reality of filmmaking, which is so close to like bridging that gap of just being over the top and almost like magical of how stuff happens. And here you see it more in the behind the scenes of how sometimes also like dangerous it is on Welcome. It's not just with the injury that he has, but like with the third act and how that's like kind of used. And I think it's a pretty fun film. It hits more often than not. I think Ryan Gosling is perfect in this film for this role that he gives it again his all. And it's very funny. He's incredibly charming. I don't know if the characterization of, or the term Riz, I think in Urban Dictionary, it just should say explanatory Ryan Gosling. That's the explanation. You don't need anything else. He's so good at that. And I think to me, he's the best thing about the film. Or do you think like the stunts or the action, like the highlight here? To me, it was Gosling.
I absolutely adored Gosling. Surprise, surprise, in this film. I do think, though, equally, it is just as good as the action and stunt use. I feel like he balances this really fun act of movie star-esque, but witty guy. And obviously, the go-to thing about people these days are, or these characters are, they're witty in terrible, scary situations. But I felt like the introduction of Gosling's character was enough to kind of balance that out. Like, we had a lot of that in Brad Pitt and Bullet Train, but I'd never really jumped on as a character that was believable. Where with this, I was sitting there going, you know what? The character does seem like that guy who, as a stunt man, has to keep going thumbs up no matter how he feels. So it made me go, you know what? I can see this character still being happy, still being jokey, even if he's in a lot of pain in a terrifying situation. So for me, that was Gosling was one of the highlights for sure.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of gets the like it captures the behind the scenes of filmmaking in a fun way. Obviously, we don't have experience of that. I was about to say like it captures it pretty authentically. I was like, oh, how the fuck would I know? But it feels that way, that it like has kind of fun dynamics at play that feel like they are in a real world, like the world it establishes. We often talk about like the world that you set up, stay within that. Once you break it, that's why you break the illusion of a film and you're taken out of the narrative. I'm only taken out once they like actually are getting shot at and the danger of like dying is like right there, and still how nonchalantly he goes about stuff. But it works with the comedy enough. I think that like some scenes with Aaron Taylor Johnson work really well that way, because he can give off like that really like just a lot of energy bursts of energy. I think really work with him as an actor quite well. I like the pairing with Winston Duke, although I don't really know, like that character doesn't get like a ton to do apart from being a sidekick, but he's a great sidekick in that way. And then Emily Blunt, I guess the other highlight to go in for the romance. Now, was that a part that was intriguing to you? The romance
doesn't matter about me.
You
You are the part that intrigues me with Emily Blunt, mate. I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, it's okay. I was trying to avoid it because I'm a bit of an Emily Blunt hater right around here. I didn't mind her in this. I think she was good. I think her scene with him on the set, setting him on fire again and again and confronting him about it, was actually like, it was very funny. And yeah, I mean, to me, I think she works really well. I pleased to see Stephanie Sue in another film again. She doesn't get a ton to do. Then Hannah Waddingham, who's probably most known for her work on Ted Lasso, is I think another really funny presence that even outshines some of the other people at times. I think like the disrespect that gets thrown into Colt's face over and over again is like a nice character trait that he just goes like, yeah, thumbs up and just keeps on moving. After his character is basically set on like a break where he wasn't moving. So it kind of does the cinematic thing of setting a character up to be like this crazy cool guy and then knocking him down again. So you can kind of see the potential of what he could be at his best. Then he gets knocked down and he has to build himself up again. Although it does that pretty quickly, I think, for him when we're back there, and it's just like a lot of action that he gets to do. But this movie also looks great. I think the production design is another big highlight of it.
Yeah, all you have to do is you kind of have to just pull back and then you've got your production design done. So, well done.
Well, it's just also like the outfits. The costume design is also pretty fun in that like nightclub scene.
Oh yeah, the neon outfit. It was good.
The neon outfit. Do you want to talk about like story points, specific spoiler plot points? So warnings been given out.
Look, I don't think we again, it's very light when it comes to narrative beats with this film. It is very much slow to a point that almost halfway through the film, I said to myself, I was like, hey, this film hasn't really gone anywhere, and we're almost 40, 50 minutes in. Is it going to go anywhere anytime soon? What are we waiting for? And it's not until you get kind of to the second half where all hell breaks loose and everything goes to 11 on the scale. But for me, I think narratively, like, the film, it stupidly tries to set up everything in exposition and says, we don't know what's going to happen in the third act. We're going to write it right now. And then the third act is literally just this crazy stunt mess that just goes from 1 point to 2 point to 3 points. It just unravels and it's unhinged. So Drew Pearce is the writer, same writer on Iron Man 3, Hobbs and Shaw. But for what we're getting in this film, that doesn't matter to me. The writing, the story was enough for me to kind of go from A to B, and the relationship between Emily Blunt's character and Ryan Gosling's character, Jodie and Colt, is actually pretty well done in my opinion. I actually felt like they had a really good connection on screen, and I felt like their relationship really grew as time went on. Aaron Taylor Johnson's the only character where I kind of felt a bit left out by. I was like, he doesn't really do much with the character, and it's just okay, it's there, but he is meant to be that character who's kind of, all up himself, and he is that in the final act. But when he's in the early parts of the film, I kind of just missed out on him because he ends up, spoilers, he ends up being pitched as the villain, and he's not really there that much. And then he gets moved into this secondary villain position in front of Gail, Hannah Waddingham's character, and that kind of sucks that they made that transition from him being the big bad to her, when it really should have just been pitched as one or the other, at least with maybe Gale being pitched as the super villain earlier on, and then Tom being just like a puppet, essentially, this figurehead of villainy. And they could have done that. They did that in Iron Man 3 with the villain of Iron Man 3, the Mandarin, and how he's like, the Mandarin, how he's a big bad, ends up not being the big bad. Like, we could have had that where she's like, play the character, be this character so I can do it. Like, they could have done something like that, because that would have worked in this kind of sense where it's all meta-y and it's all filmy and whatnot. But other than that, like, narratively, it's loosey-goosey, but it's action-packed, and that's the best part.
I mean, to me, it makes no sense that, like, the action that you need for this, you need a ton of goons in there to fight them. And they do have a couple, although they do keep it, like, pretty fairly contained for the people he has to go up against. So that, like, kind of sells that, it's not this over-the-top, like, crime syndicate. Because I feel like you'd lose me even faster. But there were a lot of moments where it definitely lost me mainly on the plot, and then sometimes on how they set up the action, because the action is often set up with exposition as well. Like that final, again, spoiler here, when he goes through that, like the thing that he can do with his hands tied behind his back, and they literally do the thing where his hands are tied behind his back, and he crashes the boat and he survives. To me, that's like, it's not good writing. That's just a setup and a payoff. But setup and payoff should be done in a way where it feels like you're still not in the loop the whole time, and other characters are catching up to you finding out. It should always kind of be a surprise that you're finding it out in the moment. Usually a weaker screenplay already, like, you already have all the information while it's still playing out. Like, that's why, like, the opening for the latest Scream film was kind of fun, because it did that on a twist, but then also twisted itself again. And that's why I kind of appreciate it. But here, the story is by far its weakest point. But I mean, it just ends in explosive action. He literally becomes a fall guy dropping out of a helicopter. Yeah, I had a good time of it. I was mostly smiling as well. It like lost me a bit in that final thing where it needed to like kill Aaron Taylor Johnson off. I don't remember if Gale also dies. It just goes like from 0 to 100, or like it's already at 100 and then it goes to 200 for like a couple of seconds, and then the movie ends. And I think there's also like some kind of post-credit thing in it, or like mid-credit thing, if I remember correctly. And I really didn't vibe with it. So like rating wise, I was like at a 3.5 for it. And then I was like, actually, I have to bump that down a bit, because I really didn't like the way that it ended, the feeling that it gave me. Although I had a great time in between. So like I'm somewhere in between a 3 and a 3.5 out of 5 for it. Lachlan, what about you?
I'm sticking at a 3.5 because I had a fun time. I actually came out of the film being like, fuck, should I give that a 4.5 stars? And then I said, hold on a second there, buddy. You are still someone who watches a lot of movies. How is that in the scheme of things? And I said, yeah, you're right. Let's give it 1 star less. Let's go 3.5. And I think it was one of the funner movies I've seen this year so far. At least it kept me engaged.
It's the Ryan Gosling star that I guess you have to take off. Compared to Glenn Powell, who's future movie star, Ryan Gosling is present movie star. Yeah, Lachlan, I see you. I see you are just about ready to reveal what your double feature pick is for The Fall Guy. So yeah. Tell us.
So originally I was going to do one of the best years of film, 1995, directed by an incredible director, Michael Mann. I was going to do Heat. I was going to do one of the greatest action movies of all time with one of the most incredible casts ever. Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer. Wild film, but I decided to pull back for a second there because there is one other film in his filmography that I feel like might be a better double feature to go with. What's that, you say? Well, how about one that has
Ferrari.
the log line of no law, no rules, no order. Also from Michael Mann, 2006, Jamie Foxx, Colin Farrell, Miami Vice.
Okay, I haven't seen this one, so I guess you'd recommend it together with The Fall Guy.
Oh my god, it's such a mixture of a movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, fuck it, why not? That's my double pick. That's my double pick.
I'm going with a movie that also has a big drop where they jump out of a plane, and there's a fall guy literally because they're falling, and that's in Point Break because they jump out of a plane in that one. So that's my connection. That's my movie pick. There's a couple of new releases this week. Again, The Fall Guy does come out in some places, including Switzerland and the States. It is already out in Australia. Then we are also getting a worldwide re-release of Phantom Menace, the first Star Wars film. Yes, it's episode 1, so it's definitely the first one that ever happened. There's no other films in Star Wars history before it. But that's getting ready to be released on May 3rd, right ahead of its time on May the 4th be with you, that little tie-in. There's also a new series that's going to premiere, Tales of the Empire, from the Star Wars universe, that's premiering on May 4th. Then we also have out on digital Turtles All the Way Down, the adaptation from John Green's book. That's a HBO or I guess Max movie that's gonna drop this week. And then we also got The Idea of You with Anne Hathaway on Prime, where she's dating a younger guy, very much younger than him. Her. Intrigued for that one. That premiered at South by Southwest and got pretty good reviews already. Then out in limited release, Ryosuke Hamaguchi's latest film after he won Drive My Car a couple of years ago is Evil Does Not Exist, and that's out in limited release, as well as I Saw the TV Glow. That one has gotten incredible reviews out of Sundance, so I can't wait to catch up with it myself. So maybe that's showing in a theater near you. And then Wildcat, Ethan Hawke directing, his daughter Maya Hawke, is an adaptation of the writer, or like about the life of Flannery O'Connor. I got to catch this one at last year's Zurich Film Festival. I didn't really mind it, but maybe if you know more about the writer, it actually is interesting. It kind of blends, I think, her writing off the characters with real life experiences, but then also kind of showing you visualizing her stories. Yeah, I didn't really connect with it, but what I can shout out is out in Swiss theaters, Bastarden, also known as The Kingsman here, is out. It's Mads Mikkelsen's latest film that is very epic, very much worth seeing. And then, Lachlan, we have to wrap this one up, so you can go see a previous screening of Boy Kills World. That one comes out this week in the States and in Australia, or I think in the States it's already out. And then you also are getting the late release of The Taste of Things. That one you can already catch on digital already, but it is now streaming, or not streaming, it's now being shown in theaters in Australia. But that's it for this week. It's not going to be the Fall Guy next week like we teased a week ago, but we're actually going to talk about Luca Guadagnino's challenges. The reviews have been very positive, so I can't wait to catch up with it myself. And we'll see you on the court next week, right? Serving.
Ooh.
Bye-bye.
Bye.